Morning everybody. I want to do a video for the first year students of the Home Bible College. This video is on the subject of preaching. It's lecture number 41. Now this could be a whole week of lectures, but I'm gonna do it as brief as I possibly can, but it'll give you the bare bones of what's involved in preaching. Now let me first of all talk about what preaching is not. Preaching is not a little homely talk. It's not a friendly chat. That's not what preaching is all about. It's not a lesson. It isn't an educational lecture. Of course, there's going to be an educational aspect to it, but it's not an educational lecture. It's not a commentary, verse by verse, or phrase, or passage by passage. It's not a Bible lecture. So preaching might have some of these elements. In fact, all good preaching will have some of those elements, but it's not any one of them in particular. Preaching is, and I'm going to tell you now in a long sentence, you might like to write this down. Preaching is a man of God delivering the message of God in the power of the Spirit of God. Got that? So it is a man of God delivering the message of God in the power of the Spirit of God. First of all, it's a man of God. Not anyone is called to the ministry of preaching, but those who are specifically gifted of the Holy Spirit are called to be preachers of the gospel and preachers of the gospel to believers. And secondly, they deliver the message of God. It's not a place for people to bring their own ideas, for people to bring their own opinions. It's a place for men of God to bring the message of God. That's what it's for. And it's thirdly, it is in the power of the Holy Spirit. So then, we get a very interesting phrase in Peter's letters. It says this, it says, holy men of God spoke as they were moved of the Holy Spirit. Of course, it's talking about the Old Testament prophetic ministry, but it's the same thing for preachers today. Holy men of God speak as they are moved of the Holy Spirit. Now, let me just emphasize just three things. The first thing is that holiness is the particular feature of the man of God. That's the particular feature. There needs to be a holiness of life before God, and there needs to be a blamelessness before men. The second thing is there needs to be a purity of the message. As I said a moment ago, it's so important to keep out of the message all of your own personal ideas, and to keep out of the message as much as possible the thinking of mankind. It's actually the message of God. It's the message of God. There needs to be a purity of the message. And then lastly, there needs to be the empowering of the Holy Spirit. There's absolutely no substitute for that. So then, to prepare to preach, first of all, you need to be right with God. There needs to be preparation of your soul before the Lord, in which you come before him, and every man does this in his own way, but you come before the Lord and you ask the Lord about the things that might be in the way of your relationship with him. And then you wait. It's up to him then to reveal to you and to reveal to your heart or your mind or your conscience things that need to be put right. And then when those things are put right, then you will be in the first stage of being ready to preach the gospel. The second thing is you need to speak the gospel in its purity and without your personal prejudices. Okay? It's very easy to allow your own personal feelings and prejudices and thinking to pervade the message. And thirdly, you need to be lit up by the Spirit of the Lord in the delivery of the message. There needs to be an earnestness. There needs to be a seriousness. There needs to be a dignity to the preaching of the gospel. And then, of course, preaching is a declaration of the good news that Christ died and was buried and rose again. Now, we could go further than that, and we could think of all sorts of things that need to be added to it, but primarily the gospel is the good news of his Son, in which he came into this world and died upon a cross, was buried, and rose again according to the Scriptures. So that's preaching. That's preaching. And we could say a lot more about preaching, but that's the basic bones of what preaching is all about. Well, we look forward to speaking to you next time. Have a great day. Bye for now.